What's up, Grandstand Bettors? Welcome in. It is 2 goals, 1 puck here on Tuesday, December 20th. Welcome into the show, guys. Listen, we are coming off a 5-1 day last week. So congratulations to anybody out there that tailed with us. It was a fantastic day. Hopefully we can repeat that today as well. As always, we have 6 more plays for you this evening. And here is how we recommend betting it before we even get into the plays itself. Again, place 1 unit on each of these bets we give out. No more than that. Even if you want to do half units, that is very good for recreational betting. And in the parlay itself, in this 6-pack parlay that we give out, throw like 1/4 of a unit on the parlay itself. A friendly reminder that betting parlays is how most recreational bettors actually lose their money. So straight bets, that's going to keep your bankroll intact and the key to success for long-term results. Now, while we are giving out our 6-pack parlay, please in the chat, give us your best bets for the night to share with others in the chat, but as well as us, would love to talk about other games that maybe we don't talk about. And if maybe you're on the fence of a game, and you're looking at a game and we have not talked about it in our 6-pack parlay, please let us know in the chat. Maybe a thought or an opinion, we can give it if we have one. But without further ado, let's dive in to December 20th 6-pack parlay. And we're going to start with some NBA here, guys. Now, there is not much we actually like on this NBA slate tonight, but we do think we have an edge with the Washington Wizards and the Phoenix Suns matchup here. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it's going to be a contrarian pick because the number that we got hours ago isn't even there anymore. It's gone against us. So we're actually getting a better number right now. The game's at 9 p.m. Eastern time. The Suns, 19-12. They're going to take on the Wizards this year, who have not been good. The Wizards have lost 10 games in a row, and one of the worst teams, if not the worst team really in the NBA right now. They gave up 114 points per game on the road, and they're going to be facing a Suns team who have the second best offensive rating in the league. Now, the Suns are actually top 15 in the league defensively as well, and at home, they are giving up 6th least amount of points at just 104. But when you look at the NBA, one of the biggest things you have to look at is scheduling. All right. When you bet NBA, you have to take into consideration schedule, what's going on out. I know you take schedule into your NBA betting. I know for a fact you do. And tonight, that's what we're looking at. Both these teams, they will be playing the 3rd game in 4 nights. And the Suns did just play last night against the Lakers. Now, the legs might be a little fresher here in the first half or first quarter, but as the game goes on, both of these defenses are going to collapse. With the Wizards already having a lower than average defense and both these teams in the top 10 in fourth quarter points per game, we think this one is going to be high scoring. So with our first leg of our 6-pack parlay, we are going to take the Washington Wizards and the Phoenix Suns, and you can actually get that at over 224.5. It might have even gone down farther. I think it opened at 232, something around there. When we were actually coming to this decision, we were going to take it at over 228. It's gone all the way down to 224. So obviously it's being bet down, but I'm telling you, take schedule into consideration here. Defenses, they just disappear. But there are a few injuries you want to look at to note. Booker was out last night against the Lakers with a groin injury, but the Suns still put up 130 in that one. So even without him, they can still put up good offensive numbers. Cameron Payne was also out last night and is dealing with a sprained right foot. Most likely will be out again tonight. Now, like we mentioned, we did not really like too much on the NBA slate, but we do have a few college basketball plays that we're focused on. So with our second pick of our 6-pack parlay, let's take a look at the San Diego UC Riverside matchup. And this game takes place on the late night at 10 p.m. Eastern. The Toreros come in at this one 6-6 on the season, and they really have struggled playing teams of any skill set. They just are not good against the better teams. Their 6 wins, it's a little misleading on the season, in all honesty. It includes victories over Sonoma State, NJIT, and San Diego Christian College. San Diego has no depth as all 5 starters do account for 80% of the scoring. And with that said, though, the starters do put up points. They're putting up 76.2 points per game. UC Riverside, on the other hand, uses everyone that they have on the court to put the ball in the basket, and those on the bench. They have a much deeper bench than San Diego does. Outside Poland and Cameron, their guards, there is no one else on this team that averages more than 10 points per game for San Diego. A score-by-committee tactic has them over 72.3 points per game in terms of Riverside. Now, this one opened up as a 3-point favorite to Riverside, and rightfully so, 100%. They have played a much tougher schedule, opponents in Oregon and number 10 Creighton. And the defense of San Diego is absolutely horrendous. They're ranked 317th in the nation. This game quickly got up to 5, but has held steady for most of the afternoon. I'll be honest, I have a hard time backing teams that rely on 2 guys to put almost all the points for a team, and especially if they're guards. In Riverside, you see, they're going to have a great chance to win this game outright. I actually just saw it went up to 6 points. So it is at 6 points now. Now, we might be on the wrong side at this one, but our second play is going to be the six-pack parlay. It's going to be San Diego +6. I don't trust a team that only has a couple of guys that can put the ball in the basket. And San Diego, on the other hand, they have kind of a play by committee, put the ball in the hoop by committee. I said that wrong earlier, but I'm correcting it now. But I'm telling you, I think San Diego is a live dog there. But I'm going to take the 6.5 as our second pick of our 6-pack parlay. Al coming in here with some of his bets. He likes the Pistons team total over 114.5, marking over 30.5 PRAs, and Hayes over 20.5 PRAs. Thanks, Al, for shooting that in there. Again, guys, if you are looking for any opinions or whatever, just let us know in the chat and put your best bets so everybody out there can share their best bets with each other. So our first 2 picks is going to be the Phoenix Suns and the Washington Wizards over 224.5. And then we are going to take San Diego +6 over UC Riverside. Now, we may be on the wrong side of that, but again, we rather play with a team than 2 guys that might have an off night. Now, I do want to stay in college basketball for a couple more picks here. Our third pick, we're going to look at Harvard and UC Irvine on the late night again, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Harvard at the moment has had a tough time stringing wins together, and they are just embarrassing on their home court, losing to Howard last time out. Harvard, not Howard, is built around defense, quite honestly, and they've been that way for years. First, they only give up around 64 points per game, and UC Irvine in the same sentence is kind of built around defense as well. However, Irvine at home really struggles defensively for some reason, as they give up 72 points per game on their court. I'm not sure why, but they are much better on the road defensively than at home. Offensively, for these 2 teams, there is a dynamic difference on how they run the offense. Harvard works the ball down low and gets most of their points inside the paint, or at least inside the 3-point line, because honestly, their 3-point shooting is horrendous. In fact, they're 3rd worst in the entire country at 24.9% shooting threes. They also rely on Chris Ledlam to carry the offense. This guy, 19 points per game. Nobody else on their squad even has 9 points per game. That's how much he is needed. Kind of reminds me of that Riverside team that we just spoke of. Now, UC Irvine is somewhat the complete opposite, although their guards, Davis and Baker, lead the team scoring. 11 different guys on this team average over 10 minutes on the court, and they all love to shoot the 3. And they're good at it. In fact, UC Irvine, 6th best in the country at 41.3% beyond the arc. Now, great news for the Anteaters, as Harvard gives up a ton of threes per game, almost 24 attempts each game. They do typically defend the 3 well, but this UC Irvine team is just made of sharp shooters from the outside. So we're going to take a look at the total tonight for this one. Yes, we know Harvard is not a great team at shooting threes, and they actually, though, are much better on the road. And yes, we know both of these teams pride themselves in defense, but the Anteaters are terrible at home, and we think this one's going to soar over the total. So with our third pick in our six-pack parlay, we're going to take Harvard UC Irvine over 133.5. Darnell, what's going on, man? It's not every night because I'm still, listen, I had a partner, and we'll get to our other three picks in a moment. But, I had a partner. I got to get somebody on. It's a lot for me to research and do this entire show by myself. So I have somebody in the making, and it might get to every night. We'll see. But thanks. I appreciate it, Darnell. Thank you. Or Daryl. Sorry, Daryl, not Darnell. I appreciate it. Thank you. So our third pick in our six-pack parlay, Harvard UC Irvine over 133.5. And we went 6-0 in college basketball last night. I'm sure we'll probably fade all three of these, but I'm going to put out one more in our six-pack parlay. We're going to look at Southern Indiana and Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne. Southern Indiana, they're on a 4-game win streak at the moment. They had a nice win over IUPUI a few days ago. Southern Indiana has a decent offensive team, and they do it with a lot of scoring depth and three-pointers. Just like UC Irvine, the Screaming Eagles are top 10 in college basketball in shooting threes. Honestly, this team reminds us a lot of Notre Dame, and I know I'm biased there, comparing anybody to Notre Dame, but seriously, over the last decade, Notre Dame's done a good job of rebounding the ball, living and dying by the three, and limiting their turnovers. In fact, they're one of the best in the country at limiting their turnovers. And the Screaming Eagles, honestly, they kind of fit that mold this season a little bit. They have their hands full tonight, though. They're going to go up against the Mastodons, who are also on a 4-game win streak, who have been doing it really from a defensive standpoint, though, giving up just 69 points per game. A big component of that defense, though, is guarding the perimeter. They're nicely holding opponents to only shooting 28.7% from the arc, behind the arc, but they do let up almost the most threes per game in college basketball. So the opportunities for Southern Indiana to score and hit from the outside is going to be there. The question is, do they actually make the shots? And we think they do. On the season, they've been very consistent, Southern Indiana, shooting around as a team 45%, whereas IPFW has a lot of inconsistency and tend to play a little bit more of some selfish basketball, not as coherent as Southern Indiana does. So with our fourth pick in our six-pack parlay tonight, we are going to take the Southern Indiana Screaming Eagles plus 5.5 over IPFW. Daryl, who do you think is an underdog in the NHL, or who do we like as an underdog in the NHL? Senators, Maple Leafs, or Penguins? Let me think on that. Let me get to our fifth pick. We do have an NHL pick coming up, but first, that is enough basketball, quite honestly. Let's get into a little bit of football for tonight, as we do have a bowl game starting, I think, in just about an hour from now. It's between Toledo and Liberty in the Boca Raton bowl game. With Hugh Freeze going to Auburn, Liberty is going to be under the direction tonight of Josh Aldridge. He's going to go up against the MAC champions Toledo, as they did beat Ohio in that MAC championship a few weeks back there. Now, our focus is going to be DeQuan Finn, who is a dual-threat quarterback who threw for 2,100 yards and ran for 600 on the year, accumulating a total of 30 touchdowns. Now, Toledo, behind Finn, scored over 30 points per game. But yeah, really it was their defense that brought them that MAC championship. They ranked 32nd overall defense in the nation and 21st in passing defense, only giving up 195 yards through the air per game. Tonight's bowl game should be a good test for this defense, again, as they face a Liberty team who is also putting up nearly 30 points per game on the year. Now, Bennett has been the main QB for Liberty for this team for the majority of the season, and I would assume that he would see the start tonight, even though he didn't play, I think, in the last two losses. Although Slater can be used to rush the football as well, so he might be in the game. Don't be surprised if you see him rushing the football quite often tonight, maybe in a wildcat formation. Both of these teams play incredibly up-tempo, and although Liberty rushes about 60% of the time, hence why they have almost more rushing yards than passing yards on the season, we still like this game to be extremely fast-paced and aggressive. And both of these teams are great, phenomenal in the red zone. Both of them over 82%, I think, success rate. And we expect them to finish drives, not with field goals, but touchdowns tonight. So with our fifth play in our six-pack parlay, we are going to take offense trumping defense tonight with Liberty Toledo over 51 points in the Boca Raton Bowl game. Now, before we get to our final play of the night of our six-pack parlay, and Daryl, I'll get to your question here at the end. And if you have any questions or thoughts, or you want any advice, hey, please put it in the chat. We would love to answer any questions before we get off air here. But just a reminder, if you're looking for all of our plays off our member card each and every day, you can do it pretty simply. You can go over to Patreon, and for less than a quarter each and every day, you can get one or two plays off of our member card. But let's stop the sales pitch. Let's get into our last pick of our parlay here on this Tuesday night. We went 5-1 last week, looking to run it back, see if we can't get it going and have a nice winning night again. And we're going to finish off in the NHL. And we're going to look at the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. This one moments away from dropping the puck, 28 minutes away. These two teams, they come position second and third in the Atlantic at the moment, and both have been on fire in the last 10 games, going a combined 15-4-1 with the Lightning having won 5 straight. Toronto is coming off 2 losses, and they are going to have Matt Murray in goal tonight. And they lost against the Rangers last time out. He only stopped 17 and 19 shots on goal. That's not really a great save against average with only 19 shots there, but still, if he's only given up 2, Maple Leafs got to put it more in the back of the net. Now, he is 7-2-2 and holds a 2.46 goal against average, but he does give up goals. He's given up 3 or more goals in almost half of his starts this season. He will most likely be across the ice from Vasilevsky, who is 13-8 on the season with a 2.55 goal against average. And speaking of guys that give up goals, this is the first time that I think I can remember that Vasilevsky has not had a shutout this far into a season. He started off the year very shaky, giving up 3 or more goals in the first 9 of his 11 starts himself, and he has settled in nicely, but he's going to have to face a very good power play with Bunting, Tavares, not Nylander, Marner, and of course, Austin Matthews. At home, they're converting at about a 30% rate on the power play, which should be strong against the Lightning, who are only killing off 78% on the year on the PK. But it's not like the Lightning are awful on the power play either. In fact, they are top 5 in the league. Both these teams like to get out to a hot start, scoring in the first period. And with both of these teams having a couple days of rest, the legs are going to be rested. They're going to be ready to fly offensively. So with the last leg in our 6-pack parlay, we are going to take the Lightning and the Leafs over 6. That's our 6-pack parlay. I'm going to put the ticket up in a moment, but I want to answer Daryl, man. So who's an underdog tonight? Senators, Maple Leafs, or who's the best one, or Penguins? I have to be honest with you, man. I got to be honest. I looked at a couple underdogs tonight. We don't have any underdog, no money lines on our ticket tonight. But I'll tell you this: the Penguins, I think that's your best bet. But they're not really an underdog. I think they're favored. They have juice. But out of those 3, I think the Penguins have the better chance at it. I feel like Tampa Bay's really had the number of the Maple Leafs lately. They've won 5 in a row. They've looked good. Matt Murray, who used to be, the Penguins goaltender, hasn't looked great in the course of the season. So I really think that out of those 3, even though the Penguins, in my opinion, aren't an underdog, I do think that is the best bet. Senators, I took a hard pass on them. They're going up against Winnipeg. Winnipeg's been really good. I got it at like a like a 3.5 to like a 2.25. I actually think if you want to go for a value play, Winnipeg covering the puck line there might be a good bet. Not real. It's plus 200, but I mean, that's where you're going to find value in that game. But yeah, I think the Penguins, I think out of those three, that one is going to be your best bet. So I hope I answered that question well for you, Daryl. And that is our 6-pack parlay. I'm going to put on the screen, though, guys. Here is, we bet it. We bet it. And there it is. So there's our parlay. Washington Wizards, Suns, over 224.5. Southern Indiana, plus 5.5. San Diego, plus 6. Harvard, Cal, Irvine, over 133.5. Tampa Bay Lightning, Maple Leafs, over 6. And Toledo Liberty, over 51. So that's the parlay, guys. That's the parlay. That is what we're going with tonight. But again, and I cannot reiterate this enough for everybody out there, don't put more money on your parlays than your straight bets. If you're betting these games that we give out, we went 5-1 last week. We said the exact same thing. If you listened to our advice, you went 5-1, and you were probably had a very good day, up 3, maybe 4 units last week. If you only parlayed it, you were down a unit. And that's what we want to educate you here. That's our parlay. I'll put it up one more time for anybody joining us. But yeah, please, only bet like a quarter of a unit on parlays. Let's win long term. That's the goal here. That is what Grandstand Bettors is about, is to give you guys the knowledge. Stay away from that stuff that you see on TikTok, see on social media, people just posting parlays. And by the way, you see the ticket on the screen? It's a real ticket. That's what we do. I can't wait for January 1st because then I can put a FanDuel ticket up there. This is from Bet Online, but that's a real ticket. We bet the games, and we're going to start showing you all our tickets, unlike everybody else, so that you know we're behind our bets 100%. So that's our 6-pack parlay for Tuesday, December 20th. I love that you guys are in here. Smash that like button on your way out if you could, and we will see you next week with our next 6-pack parlay. Let's cash it tonight. Have a good one. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. And we'll see you right after Christmas Day.